Welcome to JT Scary Tales. Hawk Tuah killed my brother. 3 true horror stories animated. Story 1. Hawk Tuah Crypto. It all started with a viral internet sensation. A young woman, barely out of her teens, went viral for a short, absurd clip of her yelling, "Hawk Tuah," followed by a crude joke. The internet, as it often does, latched onto the moment, turning her into an overnight star. Memes, merchandise, interviews, she capitalized on it all. And then came the inevitable next step: cryptocurrency. Hawk Coin was launched with a promise of being the next big thing. A meme coin, sure, but one that could make early investors rich, just like Dogecoin or Shiba Inu. Her fans, eager to ride the wave, poured their savings into it, hoping to strike gold. Among them was Jonah Reeves, a 24-year-old fast food worker from Kentucky who had never invested in anything before. But he believed in Hawk Tuah Girl. She was real, she was one of them. And if she said Hawk Coin would change lives, he believed her. Jonah didn't just put a little money in. He emptied his entire savings account, $15, into Hawk Coin. He even took out a loan, convinced this was his shot at financial freedom. For a brief moment, it seemed like he was right. The value skyrocketed within days. Online influencers hyped it up. Crypto bros on Twitter called it the next big thing. And Jonah watched as his small investment grew to 6 figures on paper. But like every other meme coin before it, the crash came fast and without warning. One morning, Jonah woke up and saw the headlines: Hawk Coin plummets 99% overnight. Confused, he logged into his trading app. The numbers had turned red. His $120 fortune had dwindled to less than $200 in a matter of hours. Panic set in. He scoured social media, looking for answers, but all he found was chaos. The developers had sold off their shares. Liquidity had dried up, and Hawk Tuah Girl? Silent. Her social media accounts, once buzzing with activity, had gone dark. She wasn't tweeting motivational messages anymore. No live streams, no explanations, just silence. Rumors swirled that she had cashed out millions before the crash, leaving her fans, her believers, with nothing. Jonah was in shock. He had lost everything. His savings, his loan money, gone. He tried to reach out to the crypto community for advice, but they mocked him. Should have sold earlier. Bro, you really thought this was gonna be different? But for Jonah, this wasn't just money. It was his future. He had dreamed of quitting his job, of taking care of his sick mother, of proving everyone wrong. Now, he had nothing, and something inside him snapped. Over the next few days, Jonah's obsession grew. He watched every video of Hawk Tuah Girl, analyzing her words, looking for signs that she had planned this all along. He joined online forums where other investors raged against her, calling for legal action, for revenge. And then, one night, in a fit of rage, he did something drastic. He shaved his head. He put on a tank top, just like hers. He opened his phone and started live streaming. "Hawk Tuah killed my future." He spat into the camera, eyes wild. "She ruined my life. But I'ma show y'all something. Real Hawk Tuah energy." Then he let out a guttural, deranged, "Hawk Tuah," and spat directly at the camera. The video spread like wildfire. People thought it was a joke at first, another meme. But Jonah wasn't laughing. He kept making videos, ranting about Hawk Tuah Girl, about crypto scams, about how the system was rigged against people like him. His followers grew. Some supported him, some mocked him, but everyone watched. Then came the day he took things too far. In downtown Nashville, at a busy intersection, Jonah climbed on top of a parked car and started screaming, "Hawk Tuah, Hawk Tuah." He tore off his shirt, veins bulging in his neck, spit flying from his mouth as he ranted about Hawk Coin, about betrayal, about how the world had screwed him over. Traffic came to a standstill. People took out their phones, recording the bizarre spectacle. Some laughed, some cheered, others, uneasy, called the police. By the time officers arrived, Jonah was still on the car, shaking with rage, fists clenched. They tried to talk him down, but he wasn't listening. He kept yelling, kept ranting, kept spitting. It took 5 officers to drag him down, cuff him, and haul him into a squad car. The internet went insane. The video of his breakdown went viral overnight. News outlets covered it. Some called him a victim of the crypto bubble. Others painted him as an unhinged lunatic. But the biggest twist? Tuah girl finally responded. In a short Instagram story, she posted a single sentence, "I don't know that man." And just like that, Jonah Reeves became just another forgotten casualty of the internet's endless cycle of rise and fall. While Tuah girl moved on, richer than ever, Jonah sat in a holding cell, staring at the floor, wondering how he had lost everything: his money, his future, his sanity, for a meme. Story 2. Madison Gesine murder. The murder of Madison Gesine, 2023. Georgia, USA. It was a quiet night in a suburban neighborhood of Georgia. The streets were still, and most homes had long gone dark. Inside one particular house, a 15-year-old girl named Madison Gesine was getting ready for bed. Unaware that her life was about to be brutally cut short, Madison was an average high school sophomore, bright, well-liked, and active on social media. She had dreams of becoming a lawyer one day, but those dreams would never come true. The events leading up to her murder began with what seemed like a petty teenage dispute, one that spiraled into deadly violence. Jacobine Brown, a girl Madison once considered a friend, had developed a growing resentment toward her. The tension between them had been brewing for weeks over a trivial argument, something that should have been forgotten. But for Jacobine, it became an obsession. She wanted revenge, and she wasn't going to let it go. Jacobine wasn't alone. She had two accomplices, 16-year-old Tyler Brooks and 17-year-old DeMarcus Wells, who were willing to help her carry out her sinister plan. The three of them spent days plotting their attack, exchanging messages, and hyping each other up for what they were about to do. On the night of September 14, 2023, the plan was set into motion. At 1:30 a.m., Jacobine, Tyler, and DeMarcus arrived outside Madison's home. They had scoped out the place earlier, knowing her parents were asleep upstairs. The back door was their point of entry, and thanks to an unlocked window, they slipped inside without making a sound. Madison had just laid down in bed when she heard the soft creak of a door. At first, she thought it was one of her parents, but when she saw the dark figures moving toward her, her heart stopped. She barely had time to react before Jacobine lunged at her. A struggle ensued. Madison fought back with everything she had, but she was outnumbered. Tyler held her down while Jacobine pulled out a handgun, stolen from her older brother. Without hesitation, she pointed it at Madison's chest and pulled the trigger. The gunshot shattered the silence of the night. Madison gasped, her body convulsing as blood soaked through her shirt. Her eyes were wide with shock, and within moments, she stopped moving. The three attackers stood over her, their adrenaline still pumping, but the reality of what they had done was sinking in fast. They hadn't thought this far ahead. The plan had always been to scare Madison, to make her suffer, but now she was dead. Panic set in. DeMarcus, realizing the severity of their crime, wanted to run. We gotta go now," he whispered urgently. But Jacobine wasn't done. She wanted to send a message. She pulled out her phone and took a picture of Madison's lifeless body, sending it to a private group chat. The caption read, "No one disrespects me and gets away with it." They fled the house, leaving Madison to bleed out in her bedroom. But their escape wouldn't last long. By the time Madison's mother found her the next morning, the horror of the night before had already spread across social media. One of the recipients of Jacobine's chilling photo had immediately turned it over to the police. Within hours, law enforcement had names and addresses. By noon, Jacobine, Tyler, and DeMarcus were in custody. The trial that followed was swift and brutal. Jacobine showed little remorse, maintaining that Madison had deserved it. The jury didn't buy it. She was sentenced to life without parole. Tyler, who had helped restrain Madison, received 25 years, while DeMarcus, who had tried to back out, was given a lesser sentence. Madison Gesine's murder became a chilling reminder of how quickly petty conflicts can escalate, and how dangerous social media-fueled grudges can be. She was just a girl with dreams, caught in the crosshairs of someone else's rage. And for what? A meaningless argument that no one even remembers anymore. In the end, Madison lost her life. Jacobine lost her freedom. and 3 families were left broken beyond repair. Story 3. Mary Ann Murder. It was a warm summer night in the late 1970s. The kind of night where the humid Florida air stuck to your skin, and the neon lights of roadside bars buzzed with electricity. Mary Ann, a striking woman with long, flowing hair and a dazzling smile, was seated at the dimly lit counter of a small bar in Miami. She sipped her drink slowly, watching the people around her with a casual ease. Life had never been easy for her, but she carried herself with an unshakable confidence. That night, she caught the attention of a man who seemed charming, polite even. He introduced himself as Samuel, but most people just called him Sam. He was tall and well-built, with an air of charisma that made people feel comfortable around him. They struck up a conversation, and Sam listened intently as Mary Ann spoke about her dreams, her struggles, and her life in the city. As the evening wore on, Sam made an offer, a ride home. Mary Ann hesitated for a moment, but something about him seemed trustworthy. He had a soft, persuasive voice and a demeanor that put people at ease. So, with a friendly laugh and a nod, she accepted. The car ride started off smoothly. The city lights gradually faded behind them as they drove down the empty roads, past the scattered palm trees swaying in the warm breeze. Mary Ann gazed out the window, the alcohol in her system making her feel light, almost carefree. But soon, she noticed something unsettling. They weren't heading toward her place. The familiar streets of Miami were nowhere to be seen. Instead, the car sped down an unfamiliar highway, stretching into the darkness of rural Florida. The sound of the engine was the only thing breaking the eerie silence. She turned to Sam, her voice laced with confusion. "Hey, this isn't the way to my place." Sam didn't respond at first. His expression had changed. The friendly, warm demeanor had disappeared, replaced with something colder, something terrifying. Mary Ann's pulse quickened. "Where are we going?" Still, no answer. The tension in the car became suffocating. She reached for the door handle, but before she could react, Sam's massive hand clamped down on her wrist. "Don't fight it," he muttered, his voice eerily calm. Fear exploded in Mary Ann's chest. She tried to scream, to fight, but Sam was stronger. He pulled the car onto a desolate dirt road, the headlights casting long shadows against the towering sugarcane fields. The world around them was still, the only sound the faint rustling of leaves in the breeze. Sam dragged Mary Ann from the car with an almost mechanical precision. She struggled, her heart pounding, but it was no use. He had done this before. With terrifying strength, he wrapped his hands around her throat. The world blurred as she gasped for air, kicking and clawing at his arms. The stars above her seemed to swirl as her vision darkened. Her final thoughts were of home, of safety, of a life cruelly stolen away. Then, everything went black. For decades, Mary Ann's body lay undiscovered, her name whispered only in the hearts of those who missed her. The sugarcane fields, with their thick stalks and tangled roots, had swallowed her whole. It wasn't until years later, when a man named Samuel Little was arrested for a series of murders across the country, that the truth of her fate finally surfaced. A cold case detective sat across from him in an interrogation room, flipping through old files. "What about Florida?" the detective asked, sliding a grainy black and white photo across the table. Little's eyes lingered on the image. A slow smile spread across his face. "Miami," he said, almost as if reminiscing about an old friend. "She was beautiful." He recounted the night in chilling detail, his voice devoid of remorse. He spoke of the bar, the car ride, the sugarcane fields, and just like that, Mary Ann's story was no longer lost to time. She had a name again. She had justice. Samuel Little would go on to confess to over 90 murders, making him one of the most prolific serial killers in American history. But for each name he spoke, countless others remained unknown. Mary Ann had been just one of many. But now, at least, she would not be forgotten. Do you love spine-chilling stories and eerie mysteries? You've come to the right place. At JT Scary Tales, we bring you the most terrifying and thrilling scary tales from around the world. From haunted places to unexplained phenomena, our scary tales will keep you on the edge of your seat. Subscribe now and dive into the dark world of scary tales.